There are a lot of contenders for the worst mistake a new screenwriter can make, but the biggie will cost you years and delay your chances of finding success as a screenwriter. It might even cripple your chances permanently, and that would be tragic.
I didn't seek you out for your advice. I was under the impression when you granted me an audience, it would be to discuss business.
Oh, we weren't talking business yet.
You have stories to tell, stories that our world needs to hear, and I don't want you to hobble yourself before you have a chance to tell them. And I don't want you to have to wait to tell those stories. And that's why I've been helping my students reach their goals and find success faster. It's why I do what I do, and I genuinely want to help you. So if you want to work with me, there's a link below for that. And regardless of whether or not you work with me, I don't want you making a mistake that I made for years. So I'm going to tell you the worst mistake screenwriters can make, why it's the worst mistake, and I'm going to tell you how to avoid it. So, what's the mistake? Well, in the book of Proverbs, a book widely regarded as having great advice, even if you don't believe in the God of the Bible, there's a distinction made between the wise and the foolish. The wise person seeks out wisdom. Wisdom doesn't just happen or hit them like lightning bolt. You seek it out. But in doing so, the wise are also cautious and careful. They're willing to take risks, but only after they've weighed the costs. They are intentional. And more importantly, they learn from their mistakes. In fact, the wise know that making mistakes is actually beneficial to them and their growth. It helps them to find areas of improvement they may have missed before. They seek out wisdom, they invite the pointed comments because they know it will make them better. Fools, however, they just rush in. They never count the cost. They don't even learn from their mistakes. They think they have all the answers, and all they have to do is do what they think is right. And this is what I did. I had written for many years. I loved writing, and everyone around me who read my stuff was like, oh, this is really good. They said they couldn't wait for the novel to get published or whatever it was I was working on. I took some writing classes, but I didn't really learn a whole lot that was new to me, and I got excellent grades. My professors loved my writing. I thought I had it figured out, so why couldn't I make headway with anything? And then I found screenwriting. And I thought I hadn't made progress on my novel writing career because I should have actually been writing screenplays all along. And it came easily. It was ridiculously fun. And when I finished the first script, I thought, this is it. I tried sending it out and I'm thinking, I'm a smart guy. Why was I having trouble? And for me, it was the result of two things. And the second one is by far the worst of the two. The first, I didn't have people in my life that knew what a solid screenplay should be doing. And because of that, no one was challenging my writing. I had no real mentor, no coach, not until film school. Some of my teachers would help a little, and I learned a lot of nuggets, but not enough to move the needle. So if you don't have people in your life that do this, find them. And you have a lot more resources available to you now than I did when I was starting. But the second and much worse mistake, and why I started with Proverbs, is I was making the mistake that separates the wise from the foolish. It wasn't just that I didn't have a mentor or coach to teach me, it was that I had no desire to learn from my mistakes. Because in my mind, I wasn't making any. This was me. Fools think their own way is right, but the wise listen to advice. The thing a lot of new writers are worried about is making mistakes, and I was no different. You want to write the perfect script. You can write. People have told you that you can write, and there's lots of books and videos, and you know what you're doing, and you know you're doing the right thing. And so you're not going to make any mistakes because you've got this whole screenwriting thing all figured out. And I was the same way. So let me help you out. You're going to make mistakes. In fact, you should want to make mistakes. But more than that, you should want to learn how to become a better writer. Because if you don't embrace the fact that you're going to make mistakes, if you don't try to learn from them, you won't find success as a screenwriter. And that sucks to say, but that's just the truth. What happens is, if you're not willing to make mistakes, and consequently, if you're not willing to learn from them, your problem will never be with screenwriting. It'll be with your ego. Because you'll think that you can figure it out on your own and that your stuff is better than anything that's out there. And if people in Hollywood don't recognize your genius, well, that's on them. Well, actually, it's on you. And it's why it's critically important you push your ego aside, as it will interfere with everything. But let's say, for argument's sake, that you manage to write something that others are willing to pay a lot of money to make. They even put it in production. Different people are hired, and the director wants you to make a change or two to your script. Why would anyone do that? The script is perfect. The script is great. There's nothing wrong with it. And someone full of themselves will be convinced that the director is wrong. That by making the change, the story will be diluted and worse off. And candidly, that might be true. But you can go one of three ways here. One way is to make the change and not ask questions. Just do what you're told. You push the buttons they tell you to push. And generally that's bad, and it shows you have no spine. And if you just bend to the whims of everyone around you, then it'll be hard for you to navigate a career like that. Option 2, you ask questions, try to ascertain what the issue is, and then you work out a solution that addresses whatever issue is being raised. This is the collaborative option and the best way to go. Or option 3, you dig your heels in and decide you aren't going to change anything because you know better and the script is great. And then the next day, you'll be fired from the project. But I wrote the script, you shout to the universe. Well, yeah, you did, and you sold it, and you didn't want to play ball because your head was too big to get through the door, so they told you to go home. And truth be told, no one in Hollywood likes working with people who think they have all the answers, that their opinion matters more than anyone else's in the room. But it's not just people in Hollywood who think that. A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing personal opinion. And you see this all the time in online screenwriting discussion groups. People acting like they have all the answers and everyone else is an idiot if they don't see the world their way. And you know exactly who I'm talking about. And those people aren't just in online groups either. They are in your everyday life. And their ego pushes everyone away, and it even pushes away the things they need to learn to become better human beings. But the other thing ego does is it slows down your chances of success. The more you refuse to learn, the more you are convinced that you know better than anyone else, the more you try to act like you have it all together. Any of those, the slower you will move toward your screenwriting goals. Now, there are some things I know a lot about. I literally wrote a book on story structure, but I don't know everything about the business. I have friends and mentors I talk to on a regular basis that I ask questions to so I can learn more. So they can poke holes in my stuff that I write, I poke holes in their stuff that they write. They can help me think through strategies, I help them. Positioning ourselves and our work to do the things that I'm wanting to do or they're wanting to do. And honestly, I make mistakes. I do. If you're looking for someone who has their whole act together and never makes a mistake and you want to work with that person, I'm not your guy. But my mentors and my friends, well, they aren't perfect either. But we help each other become better. And I don't know where this notion comes from that anyone can automatically know how to write a screenplay and know what a good screenplay is without getting help. I don't understand that. In no other craft or industry does someone just wake up and think, I think I'm going to be a doctor today. And then they head to the hospital to care for the sick and injured. Or someone wakes up and says, you know what? I'm going to play professional soccer today. And then they go to the field, they put on the kit, and they start playing. Yet many writers think they can just decide, I'm going to write a great screenplay and sell it for 7 figures. And then they get mad when others don't recognize their genius. That just makes me sad. Because many of them are talented writers and they could tell stories that matter to a world who needs to hear them. But their ego gets in their way and they never find success. So how do you avoid the ego? Well, let me run down 3 quick ways. 1, ask for help. A rebuke strikes deeper into a discerning person than 100 blows into a fool. In other words, if you're asking for help, 1 rebuke is incredibly helpful because you're wanting the help. But a fool, they keep doing what they're doing, getting smacked over and over and over again for the same behavior, and they blame everyone else for their circumstances. If you get in the habit of asking for help, whether it's feedback or to be taught something or to avoid something, this moves you out of ego land. The second way to avoid ego, do a project retrospective. What this means is when you finish a screenplay, take some time and write out lessons you've learned. What went well? What didn't? What do you need to do different the next time you write a screenplay? Just by doing this, you are forcing yourself to realize that you don't have to have all the answers. There are always things you can improve, things you can do better. So take some time, a day, a week, think through what you could have done better. And 3, focus on the process, not the result. Prepare your work outside, get everything ready for you in the field, and after that, build your house. When you focus on the result, having a screenplay that does XYZ, it shifts your brain into one of trying to build a house, to have a thing. You're writing a screenplay. You're not trying to build a house. You're trying to build a career. Your goal is to make progress, to move forward, to learn and to be challenged, and to get the pieces right, to get everything ready in the field. Plant the crops you need to plant. Do the hard work so when the harvest comes, you're going to be able to enjoy it. The thing is, if you get the pieces right, if you spend your time cultivating the field of the craft, screenwriting, you will arrive where you want to arrive. There's a reason professional athletes show up to practice and work on the basics even after they've won the championship. They know that if they keep doing the little things right, the bigger things are going to pay off. And they're always wanting to improve the process to get better with all those little things. And when you get those things right, when you're learning from mistakes, when you manage to get your ego out of the way, that's when you can finally begin to write things that Hollywood will be interested in. Of course, there are things that Hollywood is not interested in, and you can watch this and find out more about them. If you want to work with me, let me help you learn and do better. There are links below, so click a link or watch this.